Back home now, Vermilion Lloydminster Wainwright MLA Garth Rosewell has had a busy year. He was able to return to his role with the Alberta First Policy Committee after reclaiming his seat in the legislature in the provincial election. We sat down to talk about what he's been working on and what's ahead for him and the constituency. I'm talking with Vermilion Lloydminster Wainwright MLA Garth Rosewell about the past year. Thanks for joining me, Garth.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. And what a year it has been for you and the United Conservative Party. You won a majority government back in the spring, and one of the things you wanted to continue working on at that time was the Alberta First Policy Committee.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about what's been happening with that committee?
There's 7 ministries that operate through that ministry. So if they have a proposed policy and or regulation that they want to either legislate or regulate, they have to bring it through that committee. And it's made up of several ministers and also about four backbenchers. And if it doesn't pass muster at that committee, it doesn't go any further. So it's an amazing I'll call it power, or just we have way more input now than we had in the past, and it's really working well, because it goes from there to cabinet, and then cabinet kind of refines the policy, and then they bring it to the entire caucus to have one more shot at it. So it's a great consultative process through the entire caucus.
Okay. Yeah. The Premier recently invoked the Sovereignty Act to protect Alberta energy companies from federal interference, and it's the first time that it's been used. Do you see further instances where, in the near future it might be needed?
Well, possibly. It's like the Premier said, didn't want to use it, but if you're compelled to use it, then it's there. And so the regulations that they want to do for the clean energy regulations or reductions or whatever, it's impossible for us to do, and it's provincial jurisdiction. So the thing was set up to make sure everyone stayed in their lane. The federal government, through the power of the purse, was trying to get into our area of jurisdiction, and we just have to push back on it.
Right, and speaking of that, the Premier and also Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe attended the COP28 summit, obviously on climate, and what was the message there?
Well, the message was we wanted to tell our story. We just didn't feel that the federal government, and especially the Environment Minister, Guilbeault, I think his name is, we just didn't think we'd get Alberta's picture properly displayed there. And an example of is Germany came over and wanted to see if there's an opportunity to buy natural gas from us. And the federal government told them, well, there's no business case for that. And I was over in Germany this past summer, and we went to revive that or look at other things, and we actually got the Consulate General to come and have a meeting with us in Alberta based after that meeting. And we got some opportunity there that we can maybe circumvent the federal government and do some business. We want to fund social programs and all this stuff, and we need to sell stuff that creates revenue for us to be able to do that. So, again, we haven't really done it in the past. Our previous energy minister, Sonia Savage, went last time. It's the first time that we had ever sent anybody, and now this time it's our environment minister and the Premier. And that's how important we think it is for us to represent our own interests, because we just don't feel the federal government is giving us a fair shake.
Right. I guess locally for your constituents here and in Wainwright and Vermilion, what have the priorities been?
Well, what's evolved recently is a lot of social programs. The homeless issue is fairly relevant. Sexual assault center, the Interval Home, even the B. Fisher Center. Those are all areas, we increase the income that people that work with disability people have, so that they loved the job, they wanted to do the job, but it just wasn't paying enough to keep them, and they had a lot of turnover. So we made some of those moves. We've increased funding to some of the various social services in town and around the area. and even food banks. We've for the first time ever, we put money into the food bank across the province, and local food banks got that money, and it's just a reflection of the need that's out there. So it's I think social services have become a bigger thing for me to talk about and try to help people out with
Right.
recently. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I guess on that topic, affordability, right? This year, everybody's talking about how inaffordable life has become. Groceries are expensive, that kind of thing. And the government has posted a fairly robust surplus. I guess, is there going to be more done around affordability for Albertans in the coming year?
Well, we'll see when the budget comes. Like everyone makes their case. All the different ministries make their case for what they need and for what. We do have the way our surpluses work now. We have a framework as to what to do with it. Half of it goes to debt retirement. 25% goes to the Heritage Trust Fund, and the rest goes into a fund that can get used for one-time items, and that'll build up over time and see how things go. So we'll see, if we have that surplus that we just talked about, which is $5.5 billion. If that pans out, then that'll be a certain amount of money, and then we can decide what to do from there and have some discretion on that part. But the overall budget, we want to you got to stay pretty disciplined, and because there's so much spending that requests that are out there, that money would be gone, and then you wouldn't have it for the future. So it's a tough balance, but I think we got a good framework that allows us to have good fiscal management in the long run.
Was there anything, Garth, that you were involved in this past year that I might not have asked you about that you'd like us to know?
Yeah, I've been doing some work. I belong to the Pacific Northwest Economic Region. I'm one of Alberta's representatives on there, and we started a process back in Boise, Idaho, in the summertime, and relative to economic corridors. And the main one we were promoting was Alberta to Alaska. That same organization had a meeting in Regina just in November, and we advanced that even further to the point now we have American federal and state level politicians, senators, and congresspeople that want to go up and maybe look at the potential route that this economic corridor might operate through. So that one, if we can, we've got some momentum, and these things take a long time to do. But if we can get that economic corridor there, essentially we de-risk the front end of it, so that companies don't have to, like the Energy East that spent $1 billion, and then they did different things to make it untenable and wipe it out. So what this does is pre-approve all that. So if someone comes with a railroad, a pipeline, fiber, whatever, they can just say, okay, we're ready to go, and say, well, go ahead, it's all pre-approved, away you go. So that's what we're working towards. We've got some momentum, and it would be a great thing for Alberta if we could get her done.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Garth, I don't have any other questions for you. Thanks so much for your time today, and have a great holiday.
Okay, well, thanks for the invite.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Abby St. John joins me now. And Abby, it got a little crazy last night with the weather. It was kind of a mix of sleet and snow and got a little slippery.
Yes, definitely. That ice is still here. We're still dealing with that. And it got super windy last night, which is what was predicted. So last night was not the greatest. I think probably one of the worst nights that we've had since this whole weird winter season started. I don't know. It feels weird calling this season winter when we haven't really been experiencing much winter weather. But yes, last night I think was our first real winter day, or night rather. It is currently -3 here. We didn't have too bad of a day out. There were some periods of nice sunshine out, mix a little bit of cloud coverage as well. It feels closer to -7 with that wind chill, with the wind at 9 kilometers per hour. So it's actually quite calm right now, and fingers crossed that continues. The current temperatures across the region, -3 out in Marwayne and Bonnyville, -4 in Cold Lake and Vegreville, -2 in St. St. Paul and Vermilion, 0 in Edmonton and Wainwright, +1 out in Provost, and -4 also out in Lac La Biche. On the Saskatchewan side, -7 in Isle La Crosse, -4 in Green Lake, Maidstone, and North Battleford, 0 in Macklin, 3 in Pierceland and St. Walburg, and -5 in Meadow Lake. Overnight tonight in North Battleford will drop down to -7, and it should be relatively clear out tonight. 9 km/h winds, so all in all, it should be a very nice evening out in North Battleford. And then tomorrow, expect a mostly sunny day. No real chance of precipitation, a mix of sun and cloud. Winds only at 9 km/h with a daytime high of +1. And then overnight tonight in Cold Lake will drop down to -10, and it will start to turn cloudy as the evening goes on. 9 km/h wind, so it's really just the cloud coverage to be worried about. And then tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud. It's going to remain mostly cloudy, but there will be periods of sun with a high of 0 and 9 km/h winds. Overnight tonight here in Lloydminster will drop down to -5. It will remain mainly clear. We'll have a little bit of clouds, but it will definitely be, it should be a lot better than it was last night. Only 13 km/h winds for us here. Tomorrow, to break down to the day at 6 a.m., it will be -3, mostly clear, just a little bit of cloud coverage, and that wind will only be at 11 km/h. And then around noon, we'll get some periods of sunshine, hopefully a mostly cloudy day though. It will be around 0 at midday, 9 km/h wind, so it's not going to be too windy for most of the day. It will pick up at around 6 p.m. As the evening goes on. It will be around 17 km/h winds, -2, and those clouds will start to become a little bit more heavier. And then around midnight at the end of the evening, -3, 19 km/h wind. So tomorrow should be a very nice day out as the day goes on. And then over the next 3 days, on Friday, a mix of sun and cloud with a high of +2 and a low of -4. And then on Saturday, partially sunny and windy with a high of +1 and a low of -8. That's a first look at your evening weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
Welcome back. The dance unit in phys ed classes is one that a lot of people look back on with less than fond memories. But in this week's Beyond the Classroom, we see how E.S. Laird Middle School has turned their dance unit into a school-wide competition.
E.S. Laird School had an elimination-style school-wide dance competition. Starting with everyone dancing in the gym, teachers tap out students as the event goes on, leading to the final 4 pairs, where based on audience applause, a winner would be crowned.
We have a great culture here, and it's through activities like this where our students have the confidence and courage to come out onto the dance floor and compete.
The eventual winners were humble and respectful to their fellow classmates.
Pretty excited. I think there was a lot of good competition. I think it was really close though. That was really fun.
I was very surprised when they called our name because I swear I heard them cheering louder for number 3.
E.S. Laird intends to continue hosting school-wide inclusive events.
I think ES Laird's a super unique school. There's so many extracurricular activities here.
I'm very proud that our school can call this like their own kind of category, and I'm very proud to be a part of ES Laird School.
And that's all for this week's edition of Beyond the Classroom.
At Lakeland College, our students go beyond the classroom for immersive, hands-on learning experiences. It's about experiencing the real world, because the real world doesn't wait, and neither do we.
Now here are your stock market prices for today.
Today's oil prices are brought to you by First General Services.
The Holy Rosary Raiders had an outstanding 2022, coming off the winning of the Wheatland Football League and the Tier 3 Provincials, the Alberta Bowl. They hope to repeat with some new and old personnel. Our Thomas Wildman has a look back at the year the Raiders had.
Today I'm joined by Vince Oreo, the head coach of the Holy Rosary Raiders football team. He's here today to talk about their year as a whole, and thank you so much for being with me today, Vince, and for letting me come out to all of your games and cover your team throughout this whole year.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, and we appreciate the coverage throughout the year.
All right, Vince, so let's start at the beginning of of 2023. You guys were coming off of winning your first Alberta Bowl. You guys were unsuccessful the year before, but made it all the way there. Won the provincial championship. Of course, you guys had a bunch of guys moving on. So talk to me about the training camp between like January and into the spring and summer there, and just preparing the team for this coming up for the season that you guys had this past few months here.
Right. So I mean, it's difficult to work throughout the winter. There are high school athletic rules that limit when you can actually be with your team. So May 1st is actually when we can start working with kids. So we ran about a month-long spring camp and had a jamboree just to kind of see, where our kids were at and where we had to focus some attention. Then you give them the summer off and you come back. August 16th is the first official day we can start. And we liked our group. We knew that we didn't have a lot of grade 12s, but we knew that we were going to grade 11 heavy with a lot of athletes. And we started the season really well. We had some tough exhibition games, and kids learned a lot in those, and it carried us through into our league play.
And so let's talk about the Wheatland Football League. You guys are coming in as the champions of the league. And I know that at the end it wasn't the greatest finish, but just overall the regular season. Talk to me about that, and then the playoffs and how the team performed in a very competitive league here, as there's lots of great teams in the Lakeland area.
Yeah, so I mean the month of September was good for us. We won our first 2 league games against Cold Lake and St. Paul. Then we went into October, played Bonneville a couple of times and Wainwright and had a bye. Wasn't the toughest schedule, and I think that actually hurt us going into November into our league playoffs. We had some 50-0 blowouts, and just doesn't do a lot to keep the kids motivated. So, taking us into the league final against a tough St. Paul team, and we had beat them 50-3 the first time we played them. So it was hard to get the kids focused and get them to believe that St. Paul was going to be a legitimate opponent in the league final. They came in really well prepared, and we had a hard time moving the ball. And at the end of the day, we didn't win that football game, but we learned a lot in that game.
And so with coming out of the league finals, not with the championship, but being able to make provincials and still being able to play football, you were able to talk to me about rallying the team and being able to compete very well at the Tier 3 provincials, as of course you guys had an excellent run during the provincials this year.
Yeah, I mean it's a good group, and they're a fairly motivated group. And after losing the league final, they wanted to prove to people that that's not the team that they were. They were a championship team. So we went into provincials, played Whitecourt team, and handled them pretty easily, 64-0. And then we went into our Drawson, and our Drawson was a Tier 4 team playing in Division 3 in Edmonton, but they chose to opt up to Tier 3 to play us rather than going up north to play Sexsmith. So we were able to use that a bit as a motivator for our kids, saying, these guys picked you. They thought you were the easiest path to provincial final, and our kids. They wanted to prove them wrong, and so we were able to beat that team. I think it was 36-0. Wasn't the easiest game we had all year, but our kids were really well prepared and able to shut down anything they tried to throw at us. And then, of course, going into provincial final, playing a Cardston team, we knew they were going to be tough, very athletic. The interesting thing with that is Cardston's got a long history of being competitive. They've got lots of provincial championships, and they're always in the mix. So to beat a legitimate team in the province with a strong history is a big step for our program.
And one really great thing about your guys' program, and of course you've been to the Alberta Bowl finals 3 years in a row here, got 2 championships, and you mentioned that your team was very grade 11 heavy. So coming up this season, talk to me about the excitement for you and the coaching staff and all the players that are going to be around once that training camp comes in this upcoming 2024 May, about how good this team could be for your possibly fourth run here and an excellent program here.
Yeah, I mean, we like the kids coming back, and we look at around the bantam teams and we see that there's some solid athletes there. We're excited to get a few of those kids. Our team's got a strong history of being in final. You know, this is actually our 10th year in a row being in provincial final. We've won 3. We've lost some close ones, 1 blowout, maybe 2 along the way, but those are all learning experiences. So, yeah, we just want to keep that tradition going and you know, keep playing with excellence and strive our kids to be the best football players they can be and come together as a team. So we have a lot of grade 11s moving into grade 12 next year, so we'll have a lot of senior players. It'll be a good mix of experience and youth, and I think we'll be strong again.
And one other thing that your program has been showing, at least throughout these past few years, is that some of your really great grade 12s have gone on to play some post-secondary football. So just, I know we're plenty early and those kids need to finish up high school here, but just some of those kids that have been at least been questioned, whether it's the teams in Edmonton or Saskatoon or any of the universities that have been looking and maybe giving them some calls so far here to finish out after the season.
So because it is a fairly small grade 12 group, we're only graduating 7. I think there's 3 or 4 that have aspirations of going on playing post-secondary football. So there's opportunities in Saskatoon and in Edmonton, like you say, some junior teams and university programs, and they'd be lucky to have the kids that are interested in moving on.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Vince, and congratulations to you guys once again on another kind of fantastic Alberta Bowl win, and we will definitely be covering you once you guys start up the spring training in May, and of course we'll have lots more Holy Rosary football throughout the rest of next year in 2024.
Abby St. John is back in now for another look at our weather.
Thanks so much, Leanne. It's currently -3. It feels closer to -7 with that wind chill. The winds are quite calm at 9 kilometers per hour. We saw a nice sunny day out today. A little bit of cloud coverage here and there. For the most part, the only thing we really had to deal with today was all the ice that is on the roads and the sidewalks. So hopefully everybody was safe outside today, because that's definitely a cause for accidents. Current temperatures across Alberta, -4 in Cold Lake, +4 out in Jasper, -3 in Red Deer and Athabasca, 0 in Edmonton, -1 in Whitecourt, and +1 in Edson and Rocky Mount House. And on the Saskatchewan side, -5 in Meadow Lake, Prince Albert, and Melfort, -4 in North Battleford, and -1 in Saskatoon. And then if we head up north in Saskatchewan, -12 in Uranium City and Wollaston Lake, -13 in Stony Rapids and South End, -11 in Flin Flon, and -8 in La Loche and in Buffalo Narrows. And on the Alberta side, up north, -6 in Fort Chipewyan, -4 in Fort Mac and in Peace River, -2 in Slave Lake, 0 in Grand Prairie, and -10 in High Level. Down south in Alberta, +9 in Medicine Hat and Lethbridge, -2 in Coronation, 10 in Calgary, and 3 out in Banff. On the Saskatchewan side, 0 out in Kindersley, 8 in Swift Current, 2 in Moose Jaw, -1 in Regina and in Estevan, and -7 out in Yorkton. Overnight tonight in North Battleford will drop down to -7. Clear skies and only 9 km/h wind, so it's going to be quite a calm evening out tonight. In Cold Lake overnight, it'll start to turn cloudy as the evening goes on, 9 km/h winds, and you will be sitting at -10. And then more overnight temperatures across the region, -7 in Meadow Lake and Isla Cross, -8 in Bonnyville, -4 in Provost, and -6 in Paradise Hill. A little bit of cloud coverage here and there, and then some are increasing in cloudiness as the evening goes on in Meadow Lake and in Bonnyville. More overnight temperatures across the region, -6 in Murnum and in Unity, -10 in Pearceland, -5 in Wainwright, and 0 out in Calgary. Mainly clear skies, but the clouds will start to thicken up in Murnum and Pearceland as the evening goes on. Overnight tonight here in Lloydminster will drop down to -5. We will remain mainly clear, and it will be better than last night, not as windy. It will be 13 kilometers per hour. Over the next 7 days here in Lloydminster, tomorrow, Thursday, we have a mostly cloudy day, high of 2 and a low of -5. On Friday, we also have a high of +2 and a low of -4, partially sunny day. And that's the same on Saturday. However, it will be quite windy with a high of +1 and a low of -8. On Sunday, a mostly sunny day with a high of 0 and a low of -7. On Monday, we'll be getting plenty of sun with a high of 0 and a low of -6. On Thursday, a little bit more cloud coverage with a high of +1 and a low of -3. And then on Wednesday, we will have a little bit more sunshine with a high of -1 and a low of -8. That is a look at the next 7 days here in Lloydminster. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
'23 was a busy year for Border Paws Animal Shelter. Abby St. John sat down with Nikki Hayden to go over the biggest moments from this year and what they have planned for the new year.
I'm at Border Paws Animal Shelter, not for Pet Project, but to go over the whole year at Border Paws. This year has been crazy and a lot has gone on, and I'm joined here with Nikki Hayden. She usually does Pet Project with me, or the last few weeks. Yes. She's gone assimilated into Pet Project. So we're going to be talking about the year as a whole at the shelter. A lot of things that happened, most notably you guys finally moved in to the new building, and I'd like to start kind of there, because that's been a project that's been going on for a very long time, and it finally has happened, and you're all moved in. So tell me about what that means for the shelter and how much it's helped you guys to have this new building.
Yeah, so as we all know, the community has been fundraising and working so hard for this for years, and we're finally here. And we're so excited to be in the new building. And as you can see, even just from Pet Project, it's just such a better setup. Like, especially with the cats, they have these bright windows. They can look outside. They can lounge in the cat area. Even our areas where there's kennels, we can actually go in and take out one cat at a time. So that for potential adopters and volunteers makes such a huge difference. And just for the cats to be able to get out and lounge and hang out on a chair like they would in a home makes such a difference. The dogs, we won't lie, in the beginning it was a little bit of a hard adjustment, just because we came from a huge green space at the old location into here, and we weren't quite set up yet. So our staff really had to kind of, shuffle things around and figure out how to make it work. And as our numbers have shown over this year, this shelter move was very needed. We had outgrown that location, plus it was just like kind of in shambles, and it's really nice to be somewhere that's clean, sanitizable, healthier for not only our animals but our staff as well. So it's just like such a better place for us to be. And we're so thankful for everyone that made that happen over the years. So our animal outcome report for the year, we had a total of 438 adoptions, which is pretty amazing. Of those adoptions, we had 80% of those came from the shelter. So from people being able to come in, see those animals in person, get to cuddle them for a bit and see their personalities before making that choice. So as you can see, not only for housing the animals, but for adoption purposes and the community being able to come in and interact with the animals made those numbers possible. And then we also had a total of 133 animals that were returned to their owners. So it's not always just about getting the animals in and vetted and finding them new homes, but it's also about caring for them until we're able to reunite them with their families where possible. So again, the importance of microchipping your animals, because it makes it so much easier to be able to scan and get your up-to-date information and just give you a call and let you know that your dog got out while you were at work or whatever the case may be. And then we can just hold them until their owners are able to pick up. We had a lot of medical cases come through. So we had a lot of dogs with allergies, a lot of dogs with ear infections, and cats that needed treatment. I wanted to make a note too that we were lucky this year to receive a huge investment from the City of Lloydminster. So it was $300,000 towards our capital investment, and that is what made it possible for us to be able to complete the construction of the new building. So if we didn't have those funds, we would have been kind of stuck and in construction for a very long time while trying to look after the animals. So we are very lucky to have those funds and that we were able to use those towards setting it up how we wanted. Nearing the end of the year, we had gone through a bunch of different events. We had a tattoo expo, we had Rib Fest we sold 50-50 tickets at. We had lots of different raffles going on, like Barrel of Booze. We had some Father's and Mother's Day raffles. And then we also did our first annual Walk for Paws, which was awesome. Not only just to fundraise and have great community support, but even just to encourage the community to come out and enjoy their dogs in the nice weather and get out and about with them. We got to see lots of our adopted animals, so that was always special to see how they're doing and see them thrive in an event like that. What I've noticed the most was just how the community steps up. Like, it's amazing that when you need help and you're kind of feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't know if we can make this happen, or I don't know how we're going to get there, and we ask for help, we usually receive it. And it's really amazing how much people are willing to help in whatever way that they can, whether it be time or donations or anything. So
yes, definitely. And that's something I think that you'll always have, which is fantastic and definitely needed, especially when you have medical, you need medical fundraising or just daily operations or just fun events. You always have a group of people come out and take part in it, whatever it may be, which is amazing. Now, this year was jam-packed with a lot of things and a lot of great changes and a lot of great events, new events like the Walk for Paws.
Yes.
What are your goals for 2024?
So we have a few big goals. Our first one being our dog and cat kennels that we have been fundraising for so long to have the proper setup here are being shipped up from the States. And so they were an investment that is going to last the shelter for years to come. So they're going to be really well set up here now. We also want to focus on dog training and enrichment as well as our feline enrichment. So we're lucky to have the spaces like we talked about in the new shelter. We have a lot of great volunteers that come in regularly, and now we're going to be looking at in the new year fine-tuning our volunteer resources, kind of teaching our volunteers that are interested in working with the dogs and helping us make them more adoptable through the training to be coming in on a regular basis and doing obedience training with them, maybe working on some behavioral issues with us, and starting to really focus on setting those dogs up for success in their new homes, and not just the dogs, but the adopters. It's so much easier to bring a new dog into your home if they're already well-rounded with other animals, and we know a lot about them from our foster homes or from training one-on-one, so we really want to focus on that and getting more enrichment involved with the animals on a daily basis.
Well, it sounds like next year has a lot of great plans in motion, and it's going to be really exciting, and it will bring all the rest of the building all together and really feel like it's complete. And the dogs are just going to enjoy it as well. They're going to get the exercise that they need. And the training as well, it will be so beneficial for adoptable dogs to go out and be able to, you know, handle being in a new environment, in a new home, and have those tools already programmed into them.
Exactly.
So that sounds amazing. And so I thank you for joining me for the whole year as well, or from August on. But the shelter itself, I love doing Pet Project and getting updates on the shelter and the events. And I'm definitely not the only person in the community that likes it as well. So thank you so much for joining me. And I wish you the best of luck for the new year. And of course, I'll be back again for Pet Project too. So this won't be it. We'll be back in the new year for more weekly Pet Projects.
Yes, and thank you. We really appreciate you guys helping us get the word out and keeping the community updated on what's going on with the shelter and with what they've worked so hard to achieve with us being in the new building. So thank you for all your guys' support over the years.
Of course, Tuesdays are my favorite day of the week, so it works out perfectly. Exactly.
It's time for another episode of Healthy Thriving Family After Divorce. Stephanie Dobson is here. Stephanie is a collaborative lawyer and mediator and educator at Hanka Divorce Law and Mediation offices in Lloydminster and Edmonton. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me once again.
Thanks again, as always, Stacey.
Well, we have been talking about the holidays and how it is a tough time for people going through separation and divorce, especially for the first time. But then there's also those who have been dealing with it for a while. Sometimes it always doesn't go so well. So today we're going to basically talk about challenges and successes, but we're going to do it in the who, what, when, and where format.
Yeah.
So let's give it a shot and start out with who, as in who should be involved.
Yeah, well, given that today's topic is for families who have spent one or more Christmases together apart, it's likely that you've had some challenges in the past and you've had some successes in the past. And so I certainly recommend that you draw on your own past experiences to decide who is going to come into your own holiday bubble, is what I call it. So if you've had your co-parent trying to do a Christmas together last year and it was successful, great, try it again. If it was a disaster or the conflict level was too high, don't put your kids in that situation again. I have some families where they do try to do Christmas still together with their nuclear family, with mom, dad, and the kids. And you just have to draw on those past experiences as to whether that was successful or not successful.
Okay, well, let's go to the what, Stephanie. So what should you plan?
Well, I always talk about conflict and stress. So let's try to keep it as conflict free and as stress reduced as possible. So what's key is to we're trying to condition the children's mind to associating the holidays with good memories and with low conflict and low stress. So if your family likes the outdoors, plan to go skating in an outdoor rink or go for a drive around, even to see the neighborhood lights. Or if you're an indoor person, of course, you can bake, play games, watch movies, that kind of thing. Figure out what the kids want to do and plan for that and make it as positive and happiness filled as possible.
Okay, the next part of this, Stephanie, is when. So when should you plan the festivities?
Well, last week we talked in the episode about tips for creating new traditions. So, with so many separated and divorced families at this time, you probably won't be the only one in your extended family who has to plan around when the kids are with you. So, the holidays should be about spending time with family and friends. So if somehow you can create your holiday planning around your plan your holidays around your parenting would be really ideal so that you can have as many people and with as many celebrations as possible.
Okay, and the last one, Stephanie, is where. So where should you plan to spend the holidays?
Well, the where is, of course, going to depend on your parenting schedule. So, and it will depend on whether there's a geographic distance between you and your former spouse or the other parent, and also the geographic distance with the extended family. And so, what I try to do is to encourage families to limit the travel as much as possible on that special day. So, whether that special day of the celebration is the 24th of December or it's the 25th of December, sometimes it's the 26th of December, or whenever that extended family gets together, it's really nice for the kids to be able to wake up at that particular home and be able to spend that entire day with family or close friends, and just being together for the day rather than spending the time traveling.
All right, Stephanie. Well, that wraps up our series for this year. We are off the last week of December and back in January. So, a chance for me to say happy holidays to you and your staff and your family. And I guess we'll give you a chance to wish happy holidays to your clients and viewers now as well.
Yes, happy holidays to everyone.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery, downtown Lloydminster.
I'm here today with Alice Wainwright Stewart, the president and CEO of Lakeland College. Alice, there have been some really great things happening at Lakeland recently. Can you fill me in on some of the more notable ones of 2023?
So I think the big news for Lloydminster is that now we offer with a partnership with Northern Lakes, the Practical Nurse Program. We offer Lakeland's Healthcare Aid Program, and now we offer the nursing program from the University of Saskatchewan at Lloydminster. So residents in our area have the opportunity to complete any one of those, a certificate, a diploma, and a degree right on the Lloydminster campus. So that's exciting news for us. And of course, another really exciting news for us is our 110th anniversary this year. So Lakeland has been going strong for many years and will continue if we all have our will and wish that Lakeland is about rural sustainability and economic growth in this area, and we'll do our best to be another 110 years old. Another really kind of exciting piece for us and was really big news for our emergency training center this year. Our emergency training diploma students were deployed on a provincial wildfire this fall. So that's an exciting opportunity. When we talk about work integrated learning experiences, this was work integrated at its very best. Our dean of that school, Sean McNary, he was he worked with municipalities, and they were having some real issues this last year of being able to have just so many wildfires and so many things happening that we got a call on a Friday morning saying, is it possible? I know this has never been done before, but is it possible through that your students, which had much training, so they were not coming in cold to a wildfire, but they were on site, and of course we had to cover all the insurance and all the other pieces of it to make sure that they could happen logically and safely for our students. But I know, having wished the students well on their way out, and then having seen them, welcoming them back, many of the students told me it was an experience of a lifetime. They'll never, ever forget being able to, in their learning experience, be able to experience a real wildfire and be able to work through it. So it was pretty exciting for them.
When you look ahead to 2024, what are you most excited about?
Well, I think being able to hear the students' experience of our nursing degree, there'll be graduates that should be there in the third year. So there should be graduates coming out of here. So that'll be a cool piece to convocation this year. And then 2024, January, it'll be close for the end of this year as a new learning experience lab in the Bentley building for the students. I think the other thing is that it'll be interesting to see what we have for winners, gold medal winners in our students. So this year we've had the skills, so that will be another peek into the future. This year we had a gold winner, Tyler Benfield, who is our carpentry apprentice. We also had our NKB National Bath and Kitchen Association, and that we had a second place winner and a first place winner there. So it'll be interesting. We were 7 consecutive years as a top employer. So look into that for next year, and hopefully that will happen again. And then I can see that our ag technology students, the degree program students, they've been doing some really cool things. I think there'll be some stories to tell for that. And then of course, we always have our fundraising and donor events, and our Feast on the Farm this year have raised us about $90,000, which is all for student-led opportunities. So peeking into the future to say, can we get there? And what opportunities for student learning in the next. We also had Northland's Legacy Award, so Students Legacy Award of $145,000 this year. So wrapping up another opportunity for student scholarships in the future. That would be a really cool one. And I think stay tuned, Synovus Energy, they invested $650,000 in our Indigenous student success programs. So this is the beginning, and who knows at the end of this next year just what kind of activities that we'll be able to report back on.
Alice, is there anything else that you may want to mention that I have not asked you today?
I think that I would just like to share that Lakeland is so proud of its communities. its students, and employees. And just really thank our industry, our community support, and all of the individuals that Lakeland has touched them in some way, or they have touched Lakeland, because that's what makes our communities and what we can do to provide for the future. Doctors, lawyers here in a small institution like that, we are creating our own to build a future. And I just want to thank everyone and wish them all happy holidays.
Thanks so much for your time today, Alice. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to hearing what happens at Lakeland in the coming year.
Thank you.
Coded messages found in the folds of a Victorian-era dress were finally cracked by a researcher at the University of Manitoba. The code is dubbed the silk dress cryptogram. It was once considered one of the top 50 unsolved codes in the world until it was cracked by Wayne Chan. The dress was bought for $100 in Maine a decade ago by an archaeological curator. She discovered a hidden pocket containing 2 handwritten notes made of apparently random words. Took years to figure out that the information was used by the U.S. Army Signal Service in the late 1880s.
I think that's a really cool part of history that is solved, and a mystery is never too old to be solved, which I love.
I know, very fascinating that they did that.
Yeah.
That's all we have for you tonight. Thank you for joining us. Have a good evening.